Hello everybody, welcome again to another episode from Shogun Auto House. As always, I'm your host Greg, and today we have a fantastic one for you because we have been given the opportunity to review the X70's baby brother in its premium guise, the 2022 Proton X50. The X50 is actually a B segment category SUV. Now, a lot of you may not know, but this was actually Malaysia's best-selling B-segment SUV in 2021. And it's been very popular with the Malaysian market because of its raved value for money, which of course, we're going to find out in detail. Now, aside from this, if you're wondering what sort of competitors this would be up against, you're going to see the likes of the Honda HR-V, the Subaru XV, and in the local stand, the Perodua Ativa. So without further ado, let's move right ahead and see what makes this baby tick. Starting off with the front, we're first going to take note of the color of the car, which is a citrus orange, not something you find very much in the market these days, but this one really stands out. Beginning from the front of the car, you're going to notice Proton's now famous infinite weave grille, thanks to Geely, that has been brought here along with the new updated rounder logo by Proton. And to add a bit of sense of sportiness, there's also that little red chrome strip on the bottom there. So this gives it that little aggressive look with a little bit of silver touch on it. And the lights themselves, they are full projector LED headlamps. This comes with integrated twin DRL lights. It comes with a follow me home function, and it also comes with an auto light on off, which is I would say something most cars should have. Moving a little bit lower to the bumper, of course you see the parking sensors come standard. So does the fog lamp, and again the fog lamp is thankfully in its LED guise, just like the car before this. And when you look really at the bottom of the bumper, you notice it's got a very aggressive style to it, and to add a little bit to that aggression, they've added on that lower lip that comes with 4 carbon fibers. So it's not real carbon fiber, guys. Hold your horses there. Moving on to the all-important rims and tires, this X50 comes equipped with rim 18 size dual tone alloy rims. The dimensions of these rims are 215, 55, rim 18. The tires that are provided, it comes standard with Continental UC6 SUV tires. And as you know, ladies and gentlemen, with SUVs, 18 inches rims seems to be the current trend. And this one is no different. It does look chunky, and well, put it this way guys, the car itself, it's a chunky boy, all right? Now, moving on to the brakes, as you know, this car fully equipped with discs. That's 2 ventilated discs on the front rims and 2 solid discs in the rear. To add on that little bit of sportiness effect, there is also red brake calipers, so this kind of gives it that grunt to it. It's important to note though, the red brake calipers are only available with the premium and flagship versions of the X50. The standard and the executives will only receive the standard color-coded brake calipers. As we move on to the side profile, the first thing we're actually going to realize are those wheel arch and side skirt claddings. Plastic black claddings, this seems to be yet another trend with a lot of SUVs these days. This one is none the wiser. Scooting over to the roof, you're going to notice it's got a sweeping design with attached roof rails. It's important to note this roof is following the body color. However, that's not the case for the flagship model that goes with a black tone. That also applies towards the rear spoiler. Wing mirrors, as you see, also body colored, comes integrated with LED turn signals, the ever important auto fold feature. And aside from this, as a bit of an add-on, you've got your cameras on the bottom here, as well as the hologram feature. Yep, you heard it, there's hologram effects on this car. Keyless entry may be a special, or rather a common feature nowadays with most cars, but who says it's gotta be with the press of a finger, right? Yep, you heard it. No fingers required. To unlock, simply stick your hand in, it unlocks. To lock, no finger required again. All you gotta do is tap. Voila! Looking at the shapely rear of the car, first thing that's gonna strike is gonna be the trapezoidal full LED tail lamps. This tail lamp is also integrated with a chrome strip that runs across the rear, and it's also inscribed with the Proton word logo. Aside from this, the spoiler is a little bit special because it comes attached with the third brake lamp. It's no longer in here. The third brake lamp is now on the exterior side of the car. Moving lower, what we are going to see would be the standard parking sensors. That's 2 on here and another 4 on the diffuser section. That is, of course, a combination of black and body colors here. The tailpipes, I must mention, these are not false tailpipes, guys. It's actual 4 quad tailpipes. There's 4 exhaust vents down there. Boot functionality wise, this one comes currently with a remote access as well as a button operated boot. I want to highlight though that Proton has what we term as an urban package. It costs 3,500 ringgit. This basically gives it the power boot and the kick sensor feature. For now, it's just going to be a good old button. And of course, here's what the boot looks like. Not very big. Size-wise, it's 330 liters. It's a little bit of a letdown because other competitors from the same segment offers more boot space. This one is quite small by comparison. Of course, should we look through under the boot, we are going to see the temporary tire package again, which is not exactly acceptable, I would say, because for a car of this price, you would expect at least a full-size spare. But aside from that, it is generally easy to use, easy to access. A closer look at the heart of the car, the engine, reveals that this car is powered by a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder turbo engine that produces 150 horsepower and 226 Newton meters of torque. It's actually a rather punchy engine. For comparison, the flagship model produces also a 1.5 litre turbo engine. It's also 3 cylinders. The difference is that is a turbo gasoline direct injection engine, a TGDI. The output for that is rated at 177 horsepower and 255 Newton meters of torque. The transmission that drives this car is the same one that you would find with Geely or maybe even with Volvo, which is a 7-speed dual clutch wet transmission. It comes even with a manual mode. Let's take a look at how the layout of the engine is. As you can see here, you can't really see the engine. It's all covered with plastic cladding. I'm not actually a fan of these plastics because they tend to get brittle and break over time, but it is what it is. The hood is insulated, which is great, added vibration reduction, but I still am disappointed with the fact they still cannot provide that hydraulic arm for the boot. It's heavy. Why do you still need to use a stick from the 80s? That's old, guys. That's really old for a car of this age. And of course, here comes the ever important question: how efficient is this car? I'll tell you. What Proton is claiming is 6.5 liters for every 100 kilometers. A full tank comes with about 45 liters worth, which roughly adds up to about 80 ringgit in total. That can take you to a range of between 600 to 700 kilometers. Of course, on the basis that you are traveling at a certain speed on the highway with minimal or no traffic. And for all you race junkies, the Century Sprint is rated at 7.9 seconds. Again, a claim number. Top speed is claimed to be at 195 kilometers per hour. Just as a public service announcement, just because the car can go up to 195 doesn't mean you should. Now that we are inside the X50, let's go through some of the safety specifications that comes with this car. First and foremost, this car is rated 5-star NCAP crash tested. In terms of the airbag count, good news guys, we have 6 airbags on this particular variant as well as the flagship. Take note that the lower variants come with only 4 airbags. Aside from this, you've got the standard ABS, EBD, the brake assist, stability control, you've got the hill descent control, hill start assist, tire pressure monitoring system, you've got camera 360, adaptive fog lamps, that's how we call it. If you remember how it was with the Wira back then, whereby if you put the turn signal to the left or the right, the fog lamp actually comes on. You notice I did not speak of the ADAS system, which is the Advanced Driver Adaptive System. I did not really speak about this on this particular variant simply because it's only exclusive to the flagship model. That'll include your, AEB, lane watch, cruise control, all of those. You want that, go for the flagship. This is what you're going to get with the premium. To begin with the interior, I want us to focus on the dashboard itself. Reason being, because among all the dashboards I've seen with other cars, none appears to be quite as futuristic or attractive as this one. I mean, take a look at it, guys. You've got 3-tone dashboard. You've got it with the red leatherette, with the default leather. You've got the silver brush effect, and of course, you've got the conventional black plastic. 3 tones. You do not see this often. In fact, even a lot of more expensive make and models don't offer these sorts of dashboards. And take a look at the aircon vent, guys. You are used to seeing the usual round designs or very standard designs. This one seems to be inspired by some form of art, and I appreciate this art, guys. This is beautiful if you ask me. Let's now take a look at the dashboard layout itself. This one here, 7-inch fully digitalized dashboard. No needles, unlike the cars from the past. Important to note, this is only available again with the premium and flagship. Standard and executive still uses some form of old school technology with it. Still beautiful, but nothing's gonna beat this. You've got all the layout that you want to have, your petrol, your temperature, speed, everything about the car is viewable from the dashboard. Looks beautiful. Steering wheel, this is one more thing I want to point out. Aside from it being beautifully wrapped in Nepal leather, I appreciate the fact that it's got a flat out bottom. This is something you might see in a Mercedes or an Audi, but who says you gotta spend that kind of money to get this? All you need is to get a car like this. It comes with this feature. Still comes with your conventional multi-function buttons on the steering wheel, rounder logo on the front, a very firm steering wheel to the touch, to hold, and to control. I love this thing. There is one more little detail I want to include about the digital meter cluster. You see, this particular touchscreen is a 10.25-inch touchscreen. It's not only for view there. What if I told you you could actually link it to your meter? Let me show you. So, press this little button. It links and it shows you everything you need. You want the radio, it's there. You want Bluetooth, it's there. You want navigation, it's also there. Everything is right here. But here's one really neat feature that I'm talking about. So imagine this car actually has a few different driving modes, which we will touch on very shortly, but I'll just give you a brief introduction about it. Now, assuming you are driving in a normal mode and you want that actual sports mode response of handling, but you're not going to get that in normal mode now, are you? What if I told you with the press of a few buttons, you can actually get exactly that? So you see, click on this. There's a feature that says EPS mode switch, and this, ladies and gentlemen, will actually allow you to change your driver mode linkage. Meaning you can be driving in maybe even an eco mode, but your handling dynamics may be based on sports mode. So imagine getting a handling of the sports, but actually only drinking fuel based on eco mode. That's a really neat feature, and you can actually do this while you are driving, guys. So you don't even need to actually take your eyes off the road. It's just fingers, you keep your eyes straight on the road. Here's yet another feature I want to talk about, guys. These are for those of us who have a habit of sticking our hand out and not pulling it back in time when the window gets shut. I'm going to show you something neat. First and foremost, each 4 of these windows has a power window single button press, meaning you press it once, it goes all the way down. You pull it once, it goes all the way up. There's no need to actually hold on to the button while you're doing it. But that's not the neatest feature. Watch this. Imagine my window is currently down. Of course, I stick my hand up like this because I can be quite unaware of the surroundings. Now let's see what happens when I actually pull the window up. Boom, it goes right back down. This is what you call an anti-trap feature, and it's something available for each of the windows you see here. One more key element, guys. Now this one is actually very common, which is the push start button. Nothing new, right? Well, it comes with a little bit of a twist. You can start it, yes, with the push start feature, but what if I told you you can also remotely start the car, either through the remote control, or hey, you know what? Why use the remote control when you can use a phone application, guys? You can actually start the car from an application. Imagine walking into a car. Yes, while the car is remotely turned on, the doors remain locked for safety, which means you will still need to unlock it from the outside. But imagine going into a car where the cabin has already been cooled thanks to the remote access. And for those of us who are forgetful involving our keys, imagine walking out of the car, keys actually still in the car, and you decide, hey, let's lock this baby up. Guess what happens? It gets locked, your keys inside, you cry, you call the locksmith. Not with this car, guys. This one's different. You try leaving your key in the car and locking it from the outside, either through the keyless entry or with your spare key. Rest assured, this baby ain't locking. It's going to in fact warn you that, hey, keys inside. It's going to beep its horn and it's going to remain unlocked until you remove that key. So hey, this is actually a pretty neat feature. I don't really come across these features very often, but this one I quite like. I really hope that Proton would make this standard across the board, as well as other manufacturers to follow suit. Let's talk about the center console now. Looks like a conventional console. Well, yes and no. It is conventional. It's got your little space in the top back here. Close it down. It's flat. You've got 2 cup holders, average size cups. For the phone, you can also make this into a phone holder here, or if you have cups or bottles here, not to worry, this baby goes right here. Proper phone holder. Moving up towards the gear lever side. This gear lever, if you think it looks familiar, you would not be wrong. This is something like what we would see with the Volvo SUVs. Yes, in a bit of a crystal format. Looks really nice. This one is a slightly more simpler version. There is no actual lever to pull down. It's rather just going on a tap basis. So tap it down to go down. So currently it's in P. You tap it down, go to neutral, you go down to P, go down to D, and then back right up. And then when you're back in P, all you gotta do is press the button, it stays in P. That's cool. This is where the little buttons are. You've got one for the mode selection. You can change it from Eco to Sport, Sport to Eco, Eco to Normal. You have Camera 360, which basically shows you a 360-degree view of the car, top, side, front, back. You've got your braking, parking brake. Here's another neat feature, guys. Notice there's no actual mechanical handbrake. Yeah, none of those. That's because it's electronic, baby. We are in the age of electronics. This one is a common sense of it. Electronic right here. If you do not feel like continuously pressing that button, pulling it, pressing it down to release and unrelease that parking brake, no worries. You press this little button here. Automatic hold. Meaning you can be in D mode, you can be waiting in a traffic light, foot's off the brake, no worries. This thing holds it. It doesn't move until you hit the accelerator. Let's now take a look at the air conditioning unit itself. 4 beautifully placed vents. The air conditioning is automatic. It's got, automatic selectors. It gives off the appearance that it's a dual climate system. In actuality, it is not. It's single climate, guys. So automatic, one side here for temperature, another side for fan speed. But if you press the little button there, it's automatically pre-selected for you. And despite the size of the car not being a very large one, it still comes with rear air conditioning, so you can be rest assured anyone sitting in the back is going to be sufficiently cooled. Now, for those of you tech junkies looking for USB ports, don't worry, this car has it just in the bottom section. It's a little bit hidden from view, but it's there. You've got a couple of USB slots down here, and you've also got your cigarette lighter, which also doubles up as a socket provider down there. And on the back, where the rear air cons is, you've got another couple of USB slots there. As we move our attention towards the infotainment system, you're going to notice it's a very oddly shaped one. It's still touchscreen, it still gives off a floating vibe. It's 10.25 inches. It is what we know as a GQI unit. It's from Geely, actually. They came up with this. Now, the sad thing is, despite the range that this car is in, that the price that we're going to be paying for it, it still does not have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. This is an ever-running issue. Not all manufacturers seem to want to include these two. Looks like this is one of it too. However, in lieu of that, it still has QD Link, so you might still be able to do screen mirroring. You've got navigation, you've got juke music, and of course, the high Proton feature still is found in this car. It controls the music, the air conditioning, the lowering of the windows, and for the flagship model, the opening and closing of the panoramic sunroof. What equips this particular unit that boosts up the sound would be 6 wonderfully placed speakers. You have 4 on the front, which would be one on each door, including the back door, and 1 that's mounted on either side of the A pillar. So it gives off a bit of a surround system. It's clear, it's concise. Proton has never failed when it came to the sound system department. While we are talking about the infotainment system, I think it's also very important that I mention Proton very recently underwent an update process for the X50s involving their infotainment. Before this, it was the GKUI system by Geely. Right now, they have also included Atlas as their updated version. Okay guys, so what we have here is the most updated infotainment system for the X50. It's called the Atlas. It's come with a slew of changes, very welcoming changes that is. And this is not only for this X50, but for every other X50 on the road. The best part, you don't even need to bring this car to the service center to have it updated. It's done automatically online. Starting off with the front screen, the first thing we're going to notice is actual image of the X50 itself. Now, because this is a first, update per se, it's not perfect. It does have some flaws. One of the notable flaws is that this X50 is supposed to be following the color of the car itself. This one is in citrus orange, but the one shown here is jet gray. Not to worry though, this is being rectified as we speak. Another key factor here is that the range for the car is no longer only visible on the instrument cluster. It is now also available to view on the infotainment system. And on the sides, you've got the maps on the left hand side. On the right hand side, you've got your weather forecast, you've got the radio channels, and of course, the ever handy menu buttons. We're going to go right ahead and see what differences has come with these menu buttons here. If you are wanting to see the menu button, all you got to do is press these 4 colored squares here, and you're going to see a slew of changes. So the most notable one that we see here is, first of all, Member Center. This one basically shows details of the car owners themselves, and furthermore, you may not know this, but the X50 does come equipped with data, and this one comes with 6 GB of data in total. Of course, it will be depleted, and once it depletes, you would need to top up to continue enjoying this data. And you can actually interchange between both. You even have the customer service number available for you to call anytime if you need to replenish your data or anything in regards to that. Aside from this, there are also other notable features here. Now, one thing I want to point out is how personalizable the particular Atlas update has become. Let me show you how. See, if you go to the settings, right, you got a lot of things that you can actually now adjust. Of course, this feature is always very nice. You can actually go as far as make adjustments to certain features like the headlight delay. You can choose the timing you want it to go on or off. Safety wise, you can choose how you want your alarm system to sound off when you turn it on or off, either just with the lights or with the horns included. And you've got other features here that can also be adjusted. Comfort section, you can even go as far as adjust the autofold and the rear wiper links. And if you look into the system, you can go as far as not only request and check for software updates, you can actually even go as far as look at restoring these factory settings or making other notable changes to the system itself. One more bit, guys, that is actually improved with this. Under the settings section for the audio, if you remember, the previous GKUI system for the infotainment only came with a woman's voice whenever you requested to speak for Proton kind of thing. But now you actually have an option to choose between a male and a female voice. change this, all you got to do is go to the audio section of your setting. As you can see, it is currently set on Atlas. This is the guy's version. Now if you change this to Aethra, see what happens.
Okay, switch to Aethra.
The woman's voice changes back to Atlas.
Okay, switch to Atlas.
There you go, that's Atlas right there. Again, this is a great feature, but I also must remind once again, this is the phase after the beta testing phase. You know, it's the first ever update. There's bound to be some bugs here and there. This is the second bug, which is when it comes down to the sound quality adjustments, right? The sound is known to take a sudden dip while music is playing, and it kind of interferes with the entire music experience. But again, this is something that can and will be rectified over time because these are bugs. They can be fixed, of course. Aside from this, notice this little feature here. This little app is called the Shock app. Yeah, this is a podcast-based radio app accessibility. Previously, you were hearing just conventional radio stations. Now you've got the Shock app to do it. You've also got Juke's Music, which is something kind of like Spotify, a different form. But what I really want to touch on here is the ability to personalize the screen itself. So you've got three things that you can personalize. First, you can go ahead and personalize your theme, which you can be either neon blue, neon yellow, or neon green. Next, you can actually personalize the wallpaper. So you've got three types. There's not very many options, but still, three is always better than one. You've got two screensavers, which is basically your clock, either in digital or analog form. And of course, you have your other features, which is a QD link. This one will require you to connect your phone with cable. It's to get the screen mirroring feature. The biggest issue right now, guys, with this updated system, because we got to remember, anything new that's introduced is going to have its good and bads. We do need to also address the bads. This is one of the biggest issue, which is the camera lag itself. This happens whenever camera 360 is activated, or if the reverse camera is activated. You'll notice that intermittent lag over there, so it can be a bit dangerous because you expect the camera to actually give you live feedback. Imagine what happens when it suddenly stops giving you that feedback. Potential fender benders can take place, and not to mention that panic attack that you can get from having a failed camera. With all things said, I do want to highlight one very neat feature about this infotainment update. What if I told you it would also give you a weather forecast just by turning off the car? Watch closely. Here I go, I turn this off.
Thunder shower, temperature approximately 34 degrees during daytime. Please take your umbrella.
You don't get that with many other infotainment systems now, do you? Now let's look into the matter of comfort. Driver's comfort, passenger's comfort, the seats, ladies and gentlemen. Full leather, these are what they call as leatherette seats. Dual tone, you've got red, you've got black, and the same applies towards the door cards themselves. As you can see, black leatherette, red leatherette, you've got red leatherette stitching, gives off a very exclusive plush touch to it. Headliner fully in black, so it kind of complements the overall look of the car, the overall combination of colors. It is beautiful. The driver's seat is a 6-way powered seat. Sadly, this is only available for the driver's seat. What about the good old passenger? They still got to do it manually. The ones in the back, of course, seats are reclined but fixed. You cannot actually recline the seat any further or bring it up forward either. But I really, really wish Proton could have at least made the powered seats available for the passengers as well. That has become such a rarity these days. But in terms of comfort, I'm not really complaining. It does hug me pretty well. Cabin illumination seems to be a challenge for some make and models. For Proton, the biggest challenge, as I remember, was with the Saga, because they only had front cabin lamps, which means the rear remained dark. So With the X50, they seem to have eliminated that issue because while you do have front LED illumination, of course, Bluetooth speakers here for easy connectivity, what Proton has done is that they've also included one in the back. So rest assured, those back passengers will never have to worry about a lack of illumination. Next important thing we got to look at, and this is crucial for any cars that you may be looking to purchase or drive: the headroom and the legroom. Right now, based on my height and size, I would say there is more than enough of either. Headroom wise, as you can see, I have a good 3.5 inches worth of headroom. I have no concerns of ramming my head into the roof like I've had with some. Legroom wise, with my current comfort level, I have maybe about 1.5 inches, but I still feel this is more than enough. The dashboard is quite wide from the front to the rear, and this is somewhat comfortable, but my only wish was if the dashboard was a little bit shorter so I could see a little bit more in front of me, but it is still sufficient, so to speak. Despite its sweeping roof design where the roof actually slants downwards towards the back, headroom remains problem-free for me. Of course, not nearly as generous as it was in the front, but I still have at least about 2 inches worth of headroom. Legroom wise, based on the topic that we have someone who's maybe about 170 centimeters, based on that scenario, I have more than enough legroom. Very generous actually. I've got easily about 3 inches or 4 inches worth of legroom, and the seats, as you can see, has been dented inwards to add on to that added legroom. Based on my driving preference, legroom will be a bit of a constraint. I might actually be jamming it against the seat. Understandable given my height. The rear seats can definitely seat 3 people comfortably. Of course, for big boys and girls, for some of us, we got to use just 2 seats to be really comfy. We can convert the middle section into an armrest that also comes with 2 cute cup holders. That being said though, there are a couple of things that I don't quite like about the back section of this car. One is going to be the plasticky feeling of this doorknob. It's a little bit too springy, a little bit too cheap actually, considering the amount you're paying. The other thing that I do not like is the lack of width that comes with this door. This is the most that it will actually open. Going out is going to be a little bit of a challenge, especially for those who are not used to the layout of the car. Driving the X50 Premium. First impression, punchy. The engine is really responsive. This may be a chunky boy, but I can assure you, lazy it is not. Responsive? Oh, definitely. You're gonna feel that pull. That being said, there are a few things that bothers me a little bit when it comes down to the noise, vibration and harshness. One is going to be that infamous 3-cylinder rattle. Now what I mean with this is, if you were to accelerate in this car, or even if it's on idle, right, it's actually going to sound a little bit like a pickup truck. So for those of y'all who are used to driving a pickup and then changing it to this, it might be a bit nostalgic, but for those of us who are used to silent sedans or silent SUVs, jumping to this might be a little bit of a shock for you. Aside from that, the other known issue that I'm hearing now is going to be the wind noise coming from the wing mirrors, either left or right, either on high speeds or on low speeds. It can be a little bit intrusive. The only other option you can think of is either tune it out completely or just play the music and pretend everything's hunky-dory. Is this a comfortable car to ride in? Short answer, yes, it's comfortable. Of course, I wouldn't want you to expect BMW level comforts or Mercedes-Benz comforts, those are vehicles from completely different segments. That's like comparing an apple to an orange. Let's compare orange to orange or apple to apple. Is this comfortable compared with other sedans or other SUVs of this segment? Absolutely. And for what's being offered, it's a steal. I'm quite comfortable. I have no backache. I don't feel, the need to leave the car. It's just comfortable, and there's that certain charm with this car. It's got a bit of a magnetic pull, if I may say. It's just begging to be driven. It's like, drive me. Don't stop. Just drive me. And I've not driven this car for very long now, but I'm actually starting to understand what that pull is, because I'm also starting to experience it. Question that's running across a lot of our minds: is this car something we can use on a day-to-day basis in our ever-busy city of Kuala Lumpur or any other cities, in fact? The short answer: of course you can. This is by no means a Myvi or a Kalisa or anything of that size, but I can tell you one thing: it's got one hell of a turning radius. Tight spots, it's something you can very, very easily overcome. Not an issue at all, to be honest. Of course, you do have to be cautious of the body kits and this little extension. The car is chunky, as I mentioned earlier, so if you were to misjudge, could be a very costly mistake. So be very careful. But in brief, this car has what it takes to be driven as an urban car as well as a highway cruiser too. You want to know how well this car handles? Does it actually feels gripped to the road? Does it stick like glue? Yes, it does. In fact, as we take the corner here, as you can see, the grip is good. You know what they say? Grip is everything. Indeed, the grip is everything. Sticks squarely to the lane. It does not oversteer. It does not show any signs of understeer either. And body roll is set at a minimal, which is quite difficult to achieve, to be honest, when it involves SUVs because of the higher center of gravity. But seemingly with this design, the car handles more like a sedan and less like an SUV. But of course, still gives you the right feel and the right height of one. No complaints on that. Acceleration that comes with the handling, equally as good. The handling actually improves as we go along. Tight corners is a walk in the park for this car, but that by no means should you actually take my word for it. This is just me. It's different driver to driver. And so we have come again to the end of this journey with the Proton X50. Has been a rather interesting one, but let's crunch some numbers now, guys. Assuming that you are wanting to take a 5-year loan for this baby with an interest rate of say 2.4%, that's our rough average, right? You'll be looking at paying around 1,850 ringgit monthly. Should you want to stretch this to 7 years installment on the same interest rate, that amount is going to be 1,370 ringgit monthly. Now, if you're going to go for the home run, a full 9 years, also based on a 2.4% interest, you're going to be looking somewhere in the range of about 1,120 ringgit. Now again, I just need to specify, this is based on 2.4%. The rates can go down as low as 2.15%. So if you get that, fantastic. If not, this is your rough average. For the past few years, we've noticed the market trend of vehicles has started shifting towards SUVs, which reflects with the emergence of more and more SUVs even from our domestic market. Proton and Proda both have come out with their range of SUVs to back this up. In terms of unlimited mileage that comes with this car, it's there. You've got 5 years warranty, and as I mentioned, unlimited mileage. Who says owning an SUV has to be a lot more expensive than owning a sedan? You're looking at pretty much similar price range for maintenance, maybe a tad bit on the higher side, but not very big of a difference here. If you're interested in looking at, buying one of these cars, be prepared though. The waiting period for this car may be as low as 4 months and can stretch as far as 8 months. So plan wisely, go in with your eyes wide open. Specific reliability remains unverified for a couple of main reasons. One, this car's emergence into the market has only been for about a couple of years. True, because it is based on the Geely Coolray that's been on the market and other markets for a certain number of years, we can't really say for certain. It's still relatively new here. Second factor is, of course, the issue of the spare parts availability that's been plaguing Proton as well as other manufacturers. The chip limitations is also causing a delay. Parts availability, seeing that the car is from China, is also playing a part in this. But as of present time, based on what Proton has mentioned, they are working towards recovering from this and they are seeing some improvements. So the grand question remains, is this car a true value for money, and is this worth your time and hard-earned money? The answer to that, sure, it is. It's a value for money car. I mean, come on guys, where are you going to find a new car at this price offering these specs? It's absolutely tough. It's reliable enough to drive, it handles well, it's a good all-rounder with some concerns here and there, of course. Is it a good all-rounder, value for money? Absolutely. If you are looking to buy one of these, my humblest advice is to go straight to the showroom, do your homework well, ask around a few owners, and if everything checks out, you love what you see, go right ahead guys. It's as good as it gets. With that being said, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Have a great day, stay safe ahead, and I will see you the next time around. Finally, our humble request to please comment, like, and most importantly, subscribe to Shogun Auto House for continuous uploads coming along your way. If you are ever interested in buying an X50 or any Proton, as a matter of fact, please reach out to our producer, Mr. Hart, because he can get you the best deals with the best service.